Thank you. I want to thank each one of our witnesses. We will now move to the question and answer portion. Ms. Curry, as a mother of 3 young boys, very young boys, you know as well as anyone the joys, but also the challenges that can come with raising kids. One policy that I have long championed is the child tax credit. This pro-working family tax policy was created, I like to point out, by a Republican Congress back in 1997 and strengthened by a Republican Congress in the 2017 Trump tax cuts. Where the Trump tax cuts are set to expire at the end of next year, the child tax credit will be slashed in half from $2,000 to $1,000. And as a parent, what would that mean to your family, and what more should Congress consider doing with the child tax credit to make it even more helpful to families like yours?
I mean, every dollar that my husband and I earn that we get to keep goes towards our children. Like I said, Isaac, he's in speech therapy, occupational therapy. We're waiting for behavioral therapy. It's all very, very expensive. Health insurance doesn't cover everything. Benjamin needed speech therapy because the little booger didn't want to talk when he turned 2. So it's just, expenses like that. The water heater goes out. The furnace went out right after Philip was born. And so looking at when we file our taxes, it happened early spring, and in Iowa it's still very cold then. So that was actually a really reprieve. I didn't have to pay a whole lot extra in taxes. We got a little bit back, and it helped with that. So, taxes affect my grocery bill. They affect my gas tank. They really, really do impact my kitchen table. So I would just ask, for nothing else, just keep it where it is at $2,000. And expansion would be very grateful, especially for those young children. Early intervention is new. It wasn't around when I was young, and so those services do cost more money, so maybe expanding it more for younger children versus older children would be an option to help. But really, reducing it by any amount would negatively impact my family, my children, and really specifically our ability to pay for services.
Thank you. Ms. Reason, as a family farmer, you know how important it is that your farming equipment is up to date. It's about delivering the best product to your customers and about keeping your employees safe. I know how important it is to make sure your equipment and tools are up to date and helping you get the most out of your land to deliver goods to market faster, more efficiently, and in greater yields. But this investment comes at a tremendous cost, which is why Congress included the immediate 100% expensing for machines and equipment in the Trump tax cuts back in 2017. However, that provision has already begun to phase out. It was 80% last year, it'll be 60% this year, 40% next year, and then 20%. What has been the impact, and what will the future look like for family farms like yours if Congress does not address this critical piece of the tax code?
So my first thought is, if you like to eat, you will help us with this. So and from my experience this spring, our combine last fall was having issues. We looked at it this spring. To fix it was going to be basically $80,000. The combine's worth $120,000. So guess what? We had to get a different combine. If I wanted a brand new one, which my boys thought should happen, that's $750,000. $750,000 for 2025. I'm like, wow. That could buy me a tremendous retirement home. So, but I couldn't do that to the boys. So anyway, ended up buying a $450,000 one. And so, when you buy that piece of equipment, you're expected to pay it off in 3 to 7 years. That's usually what the finance is at. So those are pretty hefty bills that come to play. So being able to use that 100% depreciation, now it just freed up money so I can make those payments. People have 20 years, 20, 30 years to buy a house. Nope, a piece of equipment that is worth more than what a house is, I got to pay off in 3 to 5 years, 3, maybe 7, if you talk well to your banker. So by having that, it allows me to make improvements on my farm, to which, okay, so I kind of liken it to a cell phone. How many have a flip phone or a bag phone anymore? We want new technology. We need new technology on our farms in order to continue to be competitive out there. And by being able to use this, we're staying in the ball game.
So, Mr. Sukup, we know that sound tax policy can help America's businesses grow and innovate. We see the spirit of innovation every day, from American manufacturers to our family farmers. America's farmers are some of the best innovators in the world, as they are consistently researching ways to get more out of their land for today and future generations of farmers. In the 2017 Trump tax cuts, it sparked an 18% increase in investment in research and development in this country. As a business owner, what impact did the 2017 tax cuts have on your decision making, and what would the current lapse in the ability to immediately expense R&D investment have meant to your capabilities to invest, innovate, or grow?
Well, going back to that 2017, we then switched to where we were doing about $5 million a year in research and development. We then started increasing that. We went up to $15 million, and what that did was reinvest machinery. We're manufacturing, so it's very heavy capital-intensive equipment, but it provides our employees to be more safe and efficient and provide us to be able to put better products to our customers across the Midwest, across the world. And also with the lower tax rate, that was when we started a clinic actually in our manufacturing plant facility. Our third generation, my daughter Emily came up and said, worked with some of our HR folks and said our employees would really like this. Well, we reinvested into our employees. It's been a perfect fit for us for the clinic on site. We're doing child care because that's so important to families throughout our community, and for us to have them have a safe environment for their kids, but also to be able to come in and work at Sukup at the manufacturing jobs.
Ms. Pohl, as an owner of 4 small businesses are the foundation of our country's economy. You know how difficult it can be for Main Street businesses to compete with larger corporations who are taxed at a lower rate rather than as a so-called pass-through entity. Here in Iowa, pass-through businesses account for nearly half of all employment in the state. Across the U.S., 98% of our family farms, which account for more than 90% of our agriculture production, are also pass-through entities. What would it mean for your business if the 20% small business deduction that was included in the Trump tax cuts were to expire and you face an effective tax rate of over 43.4% while the company Mrs. DeWalt works for pays 21%?
That would be just devastating. You know, we large companies also have so many other advantages that we don't have. You know, they also have the ability to make more money than we do. So when we get hit with these large tax increases, and it's unfair for small businesses to have so much more than they do. So it takes that money out of our pocket, and it takes it so we can't reinvest. We can't give raises. We have to compete against large companies for our employees. And so it's not always as easy to pay the wages that they can, have the benefits that they can. So we've used that benefit to give the wages, and so if it gets taken away, I think it's going to be harder and harder for us to be able to compete.
Thank you. Ms. DeWalt, during the Obama administration, prior to enactment of the 2017 Trump tax cuts, we saw over 25 major corporate inversions occur where businesses moved their headquarters and jobs overseas to fly the flag of another country. The Trump tax cuts made several changes to make it more competitive for U.S. businesses to be located and do business here in the United States. Can you talk specifically about some of those changes and how they can impact the decisions by U.S. businesses to keep their operations here in the U.S.?
Thank you for the question, Chairman Smith. So the corporate rate prior to TCJA was uncompetitive on a global scale. So the reduction certainly encourages businesses to invest in the U.S. So at the Home Depot, we are predominantly domestic. And the reduction of the corporate tax rate to 21% enabled us to make significant investments in wage of $2 billion, permanent investments in wage of $2 billion, enhancing our supply chain, $1.2 billion, 18,000 jobs. So it's in our business decision making, we factor in the corporate rate and other factors when we make all of our decisions about pricing, about wage, about expansion, and other investments. It is key to have a competitive 21% rate in the United States for companies like ours to continue this level of investment.
Thank you. I now recognize Mr. Feenstra.
Thank you, and thank you again to all the witnesses. You know, you think about tax, and if you reduce tax, you give families, businesses more money to do different things. We just heard about that. What it also does, it increases